caught in the crossfire. It's caught in the
What's up, guys? Lance the Obscure Movie Guy coming to you once again with another fun-filled, fact-filled video that you probably won't care about, but we're going to do it anyways, trying to change the world one post at a time. Today's video is done in partnership with Indie Horror Junkie, so be sure to go to indiehorrorjunkie.com to check out all of their offerings. The latest issue of the Indie Horror Junkie magazine is now available. $5 for a downloadable PDF, $20 for a printable copy shipped straight to your door. Every other Wednesday night is the Indie Horror Junkie podcast at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. New people to talk to, new movies to go over, new stories to tell. And starting June 1st, every month there's going to be the Indie Horror Junkie newsletter, which is going to expand on the coverage of the Indie Horror Junkie magazine. So more movies to talk about, more filmmakers to see, and it's going to be absolutely free. All you got to do is sign up with Indie Horror Junkie Gmail on their email list, and you'll get the newsletter, and that will cover other projects outside of what the Indie Horror Junkie magazine has. So, with that being said, today's video, we're going to be going over a horror anthology series. I actually got to meet the filmmaker at the Indie Horror Junkie Film Festival at MegaCon this past March. His name is Michael Jane, and we got to sit down to talking about movies. He's quickly become a very good friend of mine. I really enjoy his company. Very cool guy. So let's dive into today's video about Arbor Day.
Arbor Day is usually a good time to give back to nature. Unless you're in the woods of South Jersey.
Every year, no matter what we do, some idiot or idiots can't leave this place alone for a single day.
How many of those books you got in there? So I listened to some ghost stories and you let us go camping.
And if after that you still want to come in, then I'll take you up on your offer.
What do you got?
5 chilling tales of Arbor Days past. 5.
So you keep going. You keep going.
4. 3.
He just hacked him in the face. He hacked him.
2.
Just go. Let's go.
1. Because out here on Arbor Day, the roots run red. Arbor Day, the root of evil.
You think it's gonna turn midnight in a zombie gardener?
Arborist.
What the fuck?
With each ticket sold, the Arbor Day Foundation will plant a tree. Plant yourself in the theater, and we'll plant a tree in the woods.
So as I said, Arbor Day is a horror anthology film that part of was done by Michael J. I'm assuming he did like the wraparound story, but the short stories inside of the wraparound are all done by different writers and different directors. So 5 different writers, 5 different directors, 5 different short films, plus the wraparound film, and they all coincide with each other in this Arbor Day horror anthology. And I love the concept of this film because, let's face it, there's a lot of holidays. There's a lot of holiday movies. There's definitely a lot of Christmas movies in general, but there's also a lot of horror Christmas movies. There's also obviously horror Halloween movies. And even outside of that, you do have things like 4th of July. So you've got like Live Free or Die Hard or Born on the 4th of July. Movies that always kind of correlate with other random type holidays throughout the course of the year. Nobody ever talks about Arbor Day. And Michael did he went with this idea of trying to find a holiday that was kind of unique, not often explored, and came up with a really interesting concept on how to integrate Arbor Day into a horror anthology. Now, from a fundamental standpoint, I don't have any issues with this film at all. The cinematography is really good. The editing is really good. There's no audio issues. Great timing, pacing, spacing, blocking. So from a fundamental standpoint, everything's done perfectly well, which I can appreciate. And we're going to dive into that a little bit more because we're going to talk a lot about how these films directly coincide with the wraparound film. But from a fundamental standpoint, everything's done very professional in that regard. The writing is really good between all of the horror anthologies. Even though it's 5 different writers, 5 different directors, you can't even hardly even tell that there's a difference in the film style and making. So I thought that was really cool as well. But also the important thing with that is even though it's 5 different writers, 5 different shorts, they're all kind of shot directly, like I said, in direct cohesion with the wraparound story. So they're all kind of shot in the same place, even though the stories are different. So there was no change in actual equipment being used to film the shorts. A lot of times with some horror shorts is you'll have people that have already made a horror short give it to another filmmaker to use in their anthology, and then it kind of sometimes coincides. Sometimes they'll find a way to make it work with the wraparound story. But usually, what you have is you'll have a wraparound that's done with varying degree, or you have an anthology series that's done with varying degrees of quality because the films were done by different crews completely, done with different equipment, done in different places. So in this regard, this horror anthology series, it's all done in the same place. It's all done with the same equipment. And I kind of feel like everybody was on set for all of the all of the shorts plus the wraparound. So I think this was an incredible cohesion of short films into the wraparound story itself. But let's dive into the actual film a little bit. I loved the opening sequence of this film because basically what you have is a opening and title sequence that is set to the backdrop of a podcast that's playing while you're watching this car kind of travel down the road. And that podcast is integral to the wraparound story. And basically what it is a podcast about supernatural things that have been happening in and around the New Jersey area. And what they did was they did a really good job of taking actual New Jersey folklore like the New Jersey Devil and kind of seemingly put in what they refer to as the arborist. They seemingly put in the tale of the arborist into this podcast. And what you get is you get this father and young daughter that are going to this campsite where the arborist killings have been taking place. And he kind of wants to do his own exploring and his own investigation to see how true it is. And upon arrival, it is Arbor Day weekend, as it would be. But the campsite is closed. There's a groundsman there that's not going to let him in. Hey, every year on Arbor Day, somebody ends up dead. We shut it down from now on Arbor Day weekend. You can come back Monday and do your camping then. And this is basically where your wraparound story starts, because with this guy trying to get into this campsite, hey man, just let me in. I'll pay you some extra money. I'm going to end up camping here anyways. Turn a blind eye. No big deal. The groundsman, basically is like, hey, why don't I tell you some stories about why you shouldn't want to camp here this weekend? And that's kind of where you get your wraparound starting and then flowing into the actual short films themselves. And like I said, that opening sequence, it's like 3 minutes long. It's a title sequence. It's this opening podcast. Then they did a really good job, like I said, of just using like traditional New Jersey folklore with some of the things that happen weird in the state, and then seemingly putting in this arborist folklore. And it really makes you think maybe there is something weird going on in New Jersey on Arbor Day. Now, as far as the short stories go inside of the wraparound story, they all vary a little bit different from one another. Basically in the first one, we have a guy that is disposing of an old Christmas tree. And apparently the arborist doesn't take too kindly to people using actual trees for their Christmas trees. In another one, we see a hippie that uses recycled product to try and promote her book, get chased by a couple of, grotesque men through the woods. In another one, we see some party goers that are, not necessarily respecting the grounds of the campground. And then you do have an interesting one towards the end of the film that I will dive into a little bit more. But basically, it's a bit of a revenge killing, as far as this girl has this guy tied up to a tree. She's familiar with the tales of the arborist and is hoping that the arborist will basically exact revenge on him on her behalf, since the guy she has tied to the tree used to assault her when she was younger. And then you kind of go back out of those into, the actual, wraparound story itself with the father and the young daughter that showed up at this time. So really cool how they integrated all these short films and the wraparound story as essentially one complete story. For me, it's kind of unique. I haven't really run into a lot of other horror anthologies, or a lot of other anthologies in general, that the short films inside of the anthology directly correlate and coincide with the actual wraparound story itself. I thought that was really uniquely done. And like I said, I feel like everybody was there for every single shoot because everything kind of flows very seamingly. The pacing throughout the course of the film, even when you're outside the short films or inside the wraparound, however you want to look at it, the pacing is pretty consistent throughout. So I know with some other horror anthologies that I've reviewed in the past, there seems to be some pacing issues with, one horror short is really fast paced, another one's really kind of more methodical, more slow, more detailed. And you kind of get this up and down in the pacing, but you don't have that with this one since everything seems to directly correlate with one another. Now, I don't want to dive too much into the details of the horror shorts because trying to dissect them also gives a lot of way in the actual overall encompassing plot of the film, because the way it's written is they tell you enough about the arborist that you understand kind of what's going on, that this has been happening for a while. It's not just these short stories that we're showing here. It's been going on for decades. But they also left enough on the table that they could continue with this franchise easily, multiple movies if they wanted to. But I don't want to dive in too much into the plots and the subplots of the short films because it does kind of give away a little too much of the film as it would be. But like I said in the beginning, you've got the guy, with the Christmas tree and some party goers and other stuff like that. But I thought what was really interesting was like I said, they left enough on the table that they could easily continue with this franchise. And the way that this one is presented, as far as it being an anthology, you could continue with that route because they do mention that there is decades of these cases that we could go over. But they also didn't give you a whole lot of background information on the actual arborist himself. So you've got a whole background story you could come up with for the arborist, the origins of the arborist, if you will, and do maybe not even like a horror anthology, but you could make like a proper horror film around the arborist and how he became to be what he is. So there's a lot of room to play with as far as a franchise if they wanted to continue with this arborist and Arbor Day, which I really hope they do. I really do. It's a unique idea, obviously, trying to put something together as far as it being, on Arbor Day. And it does sound silly, but none of this actually really comes off as any type of horror comedy. It does kind of come off as more of like a proper slasher type horror film. So I think it was really uniquely presented in that way. As far as any type of negative connotation, I really don't have a whole lot of negative things to say about this film. I'm willing to give it a little bit of grace because I do know that it's low budget. So, I mean, a lot of it takes place in the woods at an actual campground. So it is low budget as far as the aesthetics. You're basically in the woods for most of this. As far as special effects go, there wasn't a lot of special effects used in this film. Most of the kills are actually done either off screen or shot cleverly enough that, yeah, the kill is technically on screen, but you don't actually see him doing the cutting or the chopping, the dismembering, whatever it would be. So I'm assuming they didn't have a whole lot in the way of budget as far as special effects. Maybe they couldn't get a special effects artist. I don't know what the details were in that. I didn't really ask Michael. But I mean, it doesn't necessarily detract from the film at all. It's just one of the things that I noticed. Most of the kills are done off screen. There's not a whole lot of blood and gore, but that's definitely something that they could leave on the table to use for future films. The only other negative thing that I really had was, and this is going to give a little bit of way in the way of two of the short stories, but it has to be said. So in one short story, like I said, you do have like this hippie girl that, has used recycled paper or whatever to write herself a book. She's promoting it at the campground, and she basically gets chased off into the woods by two creepy guys that, want to do nefarious things to her. In that, the girl ends up getting killed by the arborist, which I thought was kind of odd when it happened, but I was like, well, maybe he just kills everybody. Who cares? It is what it is. Now, later in the film, one of the other short stories we did briefly talk about, the girl has the guy tied to the tree, hoping that the arborist will exact the revenge on this guy on behalf of her, and he doesn't kill that girl, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I just think that the two are kind of a similar story as far as one girl was assaulted as a young girl. The other one's on the brink of being assaulted by two creepers. So why kill the one girl and not the other? Like, either kill them both and you kill everybody, and that's just who you are. Or if you're going to have a heart of gold at the end of the day and you don't want to kill the one girl that has been assaulted, then don't kill the one that's on the brink of being assaulted. Now, I may have missed something in the details. They're both good stories individually. They really are. But it's just something that I kind of noticed that was a little weird to me in regards to the actual arborist character. Why did you spare the one girl, not the other? Either kill them both or don't kill them both. Other than that, I really don't have anything else negative to say about the film. I mean, yeah, more of the kills could have been done on screen. But again, budgetary issues, kind of play into that a little bit. And like I said, they shot things cleverly enough where, you get the idea of what's happening. The sound effects that they use are really good. I mean, there was maybe one or two scenes that maybe ran maybe 30 seconds longer than they really needed to. I will give you one example. I won't tell you what story it is, but the arborist is hacking a guy to death. You don't necessarily see the blood and gore of the hacking, but you get the idea of what he's doing. And that scene probably ran maybe another 15, 20 seconds longer than it really needed to. Like, after the first few chops, we get the idea of what's going on. Now you're just being redundant with it. But I mean, other than that, like I said earlier, from a fundamental standpoint, the film's great. I really had a great time doing it. And I've never really seen another horror anthology, or like I said, another anthology in general, that the short stories directly correlate with the wraparound. Now, unfortunately, Arbor Day, The Root of Evil, is not currently available on any streaming platform. They are still trying to work out a distribution deal. They are going to be going on a 10-city tour throughout the country to showcase Arbor Day, The Root of Evil. Starting on June 6th, they'll actually be in Hanover, Maryland. So I would highly recommend looking up this film online as far as its Facebook page, Instagram, to get some info and see if you can catch this being showcased at some of these cinemas around the country. I know that they're going to be coming to Orlando at one point. I'm pretty sure they're going to be going to like Connecticut or something else like that. So they're going to be going, right now it's only 10 cities that they're going to be doing, but they're always looking to explore and expand upon that. And I'm sure they have intentions of doing a festival run with this as well. So if you can catch Arbor Day, The Root of Evil, I highly recommend you sit down and watch it. It's a good popcorn flick. If you're a filmmaker, especially if you do horror anthologies or short films, I would definitely take a look at this to see the uniqueness and how it was presented, with the wraparound and the short stories all coinciding directly with each other. So, Michael, great job. Great job to the writers and directors and the actors and everybody involved with this project. I think everybody should be really proud of what they did. It's a really fun and unique horror anthology done on Arbor Day of all holidays. So keep up the good work. Keep me posted on future projects. Guys, like, subscribe, and comment on my YouTube channel. Follow me along on Instagram and Facebook. I'll see everybody in the next video.